Thank you. Welcome to our monthly League of Women Voters membership meeting, this time with representatives from our local service organizations. As always, the public is welcome, and we're always on the lookout for potential new members. So along those lines, there is membership information on the back table, so please pick it up if you are interested. I'm Claire Kelm, this year's president of League of Women Voters of the San Juans. For those of you who have not attended an LWV meeting, the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization whose purpose is to promote the informed and active participation of citizens in government. As an organization, the League does not support or oppose candidates for public office. We do advocate on those issues chosen by the membership for study and action after reaching consensus. I've got a few announcements to make to members, so bear with me before we get to our great program that we're going to have. I want to remind everyone about this wonderful voter newsletter that comes out once a month, and our voter newsletter editor is over there. Marty, wave to the group.
Hey, Marty.
And Marty, yes, thank you for that applause, because Marty has been doing this for over 10 years, and she does a wonderful job, and I really want to make sure you're not missing out on it every month, because it tells what is coming up. Board meetings, membership meetings. It also tells what has happened, and it even sometimes has photos of what has happened. So please be sure you are getting this and reading it, and if anybody isn't getting it, we want to know about that. And if you know any of your fellow friends who are members and they aren't getting it, or maybe you are getting it and you can't open it, we want to know that, because we don't want you to miss out on this. Secondly, you have just gotten a recent email about our upcoming holiday luncheon on December 11th. And we hope that you will come. We're going to have music. We're going to have a Christmas baked goods sale, silent auction, and we're going to have catering by Deb Nolan. The food is going to be superb, so don't miss it out. $25. You can give it to me today at the meeting. In the email, it gave you directions on where to send it if you're not ready to pay today, and be sure to let us know. Okay, so don't miss out.
Where?
Yes.
Where?
The Grange, and that's all in the email. Tells you what time and where and all the details you'll need to know, okay? Also, some of you have gotten an email from me about the fact that you still haven't paid your 2017-2018 dues. So please follow through. We want to have your support so we can continue to do the work that League does. Thank you, thank you. Okay, now we want to turn to our program. As you know, there are many wonderful, worthy nonprofits on the island. Somebody just told me that there are 99 registered nonprofits. Isn't that an amazing number? And they're all very worthy. Some of them focus on one particular thing, and you can often tell by their names what they focus on. San Juan Preservation Trust preserves land. San Juan Community Home Trust finds affordable homes for people. The Whale Museum promotes education and research on whales. But some of our nonprofits offer a wide variety of services and support to our community. And that's what we have here today. And they're going to explain all about that. And we think you're in for a real treat, because I think you will find some surprises in here. You will say, I didn't know the Community Foundation did that, or I didn't know Soroptomists did that. So you're going to find that out, and especially this time of year, holidays approaching, and we're thinking of where we might want to make our donations to worthy causes, and maybe you'll find out right here where you might want to do that. Now, the format of this is each person speaks for 10 minutes explaining what their priorities are, what their programs are, what it is they do. And when we're done with that, we'll have question and answer. So we're not going to do this like the forums. If you've been to our forums, we're very strict, because we have candidates vying and competing for public office, and we make sure that we don't give anybody extra time. We have cards and a stopwatch, and we hold up a card that says stop. You've gotten to the end of your time period, but we're not going to do that to these people. This is much more casual, and they're not competing with each other. They're all worthy causes, and so we don't want you to be picking out the best one or anything like that. But I do warn you, I am going to be looking at my watch. If you start getting over your 10 minutes, I'm going to start waving at you to stop, because otherwise we're not going to have time for all of you, and we won't have time for our questions and answers. And I would like to finally thank our program planners. Carol Smith, way back last August when we were having our board retreat, she came up with this idea. And she was joined by Helen King and Steve Bowman, who could not be here today, and they put this whole thing together, and thank you to them. For the audience, there is, as I said, a question and answer period, and so you might want to jot down questions, because we're going to go through all of their presentations first and have questions at the end. So if you've got a question for the first person who spoke, jot it down so you won't forget what it is. Okay, so now Helen is going to introduce our speakers who represent these great foundations.
So before I do that, I'd like to put a little plug in for the silent auction baked goods.
Okay.
Claire is sent out, I'm doing that, that's why I'm going to take up some time here. Claire sent out the email about it, but if anybody is so moved they want to bake something for the silent auction, please let me or Claire or both of us know, so that we can put you down on our sheet and have a little card made up that represents what you're going to bake, so that you get some recognition for all your hard work and effort in support of the fundraiser through the silent auction.
Great.
So having taken up a couple of minutes, I apologize, and I'd like to introduce this lovely group up here who's going to illuminate us on the various things their organizations do. So if I make any mispronunciations, the fault is all mine, because all of these nice people have told me how to pronounce their names. So from the Lions Club, representing the Lions Club is the president, Attilio Galli. For Rotary, it's the president is Adam Elting.
Eltinge, yeah.
Eltinge, sorry, Adam. For the Community Foundation, it's Carrie Unpinko. For the United Way Board, it's Tammy Cotton. Thank you, Tammy. For Soroptomists, it's Mary Campanella, and she's also the current president. And then for Kiwanis, we're having Dr. David Eaton today. So please join us in welcoming them. And I'm looking forward to seeing this wonderful stuff you guys do. Thank you.
Oops, sorry. Okay. I'll go down. Oh, you're right. There we go.
Who's starting, Helen?
Oh, I'm sorry. How about Attilio?
Oh, thank you. If you don't mind, I'll get up.
No, please.
Hi, I'm Attilio Galli. I'm originally from Venezuela, so I apologize for not having the subtitles. I represent the Lions Club. I've been a member of the Lions for 13 years. I was before in Tennessee and I belonged to the Lions there. And the Lions in San Juan Island were started in 1962. It's part of the Lions Club International. It is a 100-year-old organization whose primary focus is eye care, eye for individuals. Mostly is in overseas countries where it provides services for from diseases that are carried in, for example, Africa. They do operations, free eye care and things like that. Locally, all of the funds that we raise remain locally. We pay dues to Lions Club International, but very minimal. All of the funds that we raise are local, remain locally, and we provide, for example, testing for children in grammar, middle school, and even high school for eye disease and for eye care that it might be needed. We have a relationship with optometrists in the island who will then provide the eye care necessary, glasses or whatever that might be necessary. One of our members is also an eye surgeon, and he provides that service also to people who are in need. We also provide funding for scholarships. For example, we have 5 scholarships that we fund every year. 3 of them are 5-year or 4-year commitments for children who are graduating from high school in the San Juan Islands. Not necessarily just Friday Harbor, but also in the other islands. Some of those kids are all merit scholars. It is a merit type, it's not only a need type, but merit type funding. And like I said, 3 of those scholarships are for 4 years, the other 2 are year to year. And our funding is, we do a number of fundraisers in the island. You might have seen, for example, recently it was our first bike ride. We decided to have a function that will bring also tourists to the island and provide other service to other organizations in the island and to the hotels and restaurants who would benefit from the services. We brought in about 95, 96 bicycle riding individuals. This is 3 weekends ago, and we hope to continue doing that every year and continue to grow. All of the funds that we raised on that, we raised close to $10,000 on that net, are going 100% to scholarships. So we are looking right now to expand our scholarship program, and cross our fingers it'll continue to be a successful ride. We also have an annual dinner that is provided at the fair, and funds that we raise there are also going to scholarship. We provide also an annual fundraising. The 4th of July, we sell hot dogs and kielbasa and soft drinks and things like that, and all that goes to scholarship. Our primary focus at this island is scholarships for children of San Juan Island. The organization that we have is comprised of 60 to 64 active members. All of them volunteer, and our biggest challenge is attracting new members. As you can tell by my hair, most of us are in that age and are retired. We need to bring in a new generation of Lions. We have a sister organization in the high school that's called the Leos. It is one of the most active Leos in Western Washington, if not the most active. They have approximately 70-something members, and it is also providing volunteerism to different organizations in the island that raise funds, and the funds go to iCare primarily. The San Juan Island Lions was established, like I said, in 1962. Our first president was Sam Buck, a name that might be familiar to some of you. And Warren Jones, who is still one of our founding members, is still active, is in the board of directors. The organization today is reflective of the community. We have, like I said, from folks that are in the late 80s all the way to some folks that are in the 20s. So it's a broad spectrum of representatives, all of them committed to volunteerism in the island, and we hope to continue to grow and provide our services in San Juan Island. Any questions?
We'll do the questions.
Do the questions at the end? Okay.
At the end.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. You all stand up as well. So to understand Rotary, what happened, in the year 1905, a gentleman by the name of Paul Harris and a couple of his buddies would meet in each other's offices about once a week and talk about things that are going on and helping each other out with their business and kind of networking a little bit, and then found that everybody in the room had a different professional skill. And the aha moment came February 23rd, 1905. It says, you know what, we can do a lot of good when we have our each individual skill. So let's band together with our talents and let's do some good in the world. So February 23rd, 1905 began Rotary. Each person invited several other people, and again, other professions came together and found that this was creating a machine that could really do a lot of good when you pooled the talents of all these different professionals. So Rotary is made up of professionals. You could be the owner of a business, You could be the head of a community service organization. You could be a teacher. You could be whatever you want. You have a profession, and you have to be passionate about your profession and be willing to use that profession to help your organization do good. Rotary is made up of 6 pillars of service. Let's see if I can get this right without note cards. We got literacy is one of them. Child and maternal wellness is another. Economic development is another. Water sanitation, disease eradication and peace. Peace and conflict resolution is another of them. Peace and conflict resolution actually was huge back in the 40s when World War II started. There was 49 members in other countries of Rotarians. They all got together in San Francisco and said, we need to get together and solve this because this ball is rolling, this World War II thing is rolling. And these 49 delegates, actually went to 50 by the time the meeting was done, became the United Nations. They worked together, started it, and just kind of said, this is off to you guys. Rotary does not get involved in politics or religion. So as soon as it became political, they handed off, the ball got rolling, went from San Francisco to New York, and it no longer became a Rotary thing, but it's politics now, but it was all about peace and conflict resolution. The other main thing that happened that we're really, really proud of is in 1988, we had an outbreak of polio. There were 300,000 cases worldwide, and it was just spiked. If you saw the diagram, it was alarming. It was growing so fast and out of control, something had to be done. Rotary stepped in, and because we're throughout the world, we have 1.2 million members, 34,000 clubs worldwide in 200 countries. We were able to pool all these talents of all these professionals and really attack this disease at its core. And from 1988 until this year, so it went from $300,000 cases to 7 this year. And we are going to shut the door on this, if not this year, it's next year. So going back to the business, we were described at the Rotary International as the grease and the glue that binds different organizations. We work with Lions, we work with Soroptomists, we work with United Way, Community Foundation, Kiwanis. I think we've worked with Kiwanis on site in the past. We don't care who takes the credit. We want to get things done, so we will get different organizations together and get things done. We've got people from all different professional backgrounds, and when something comes up, we'll try to use those talents to attack the problem. So we have a huge international presence. Like I said, 200 countries we're active in, 34,000 clubs. Our club here has pulled together with 11 clubs from the mainland, and we have adopted a huge swath of land, of small villages called Copan Ruinas. It's in Honduras, and the way the education system works in Honduras is tragic. So we have pooled our talents together and have been adopting this village. And this village is actually, I'm going to say 16, 18 villages that are spread out over a large geographic area. And we're improving the education, the water and sanitation, mother child wellness, and through that, peace and conflict resolution, because if you guys have read the news, Honduras is not a happy place to be. It's the murder capital of the world, currently. But we figure through education, all that stuff, peace will come to that area. And the area that we're in is not dangerous, but that idea will spread throughout. I think if they're self-sustaining people, that idea will spread. Locally, we've done a lot. We sponsor the Spelling Bee. That's part of our literacy program. So we do that. We did all kinds of projects. We've helped support the dog park. We've done the bicycle turnout. It helps promote health and wellness. We have an annual fundraiser every year called Concours de Elegance. It's in partnership, again, partnerships with other businesses or groups, the car club. And they put on this car show out at the vineyard, and we raised a lot of money for that. We did, I think, almost $18,000 this year, and we split it. We always commit to polio, so we do $1,000 to polio. And then we also donated to the Family Umbrella Group, which is a group that helps give scholarships to preschoolers. It's been found that kids who go to preschool have an amazing, a statistically significant advantage going into kindergarten and throughout their education life. It's them, hospice, and the Family Resource Center. All really big organizations on this island that do a lot of good. In fact, when we gave out the check, Brian Moore, who accepted it, he nudged me and he says, "You understand that this means that every child on this island who wants to go to preschool can now go, whether they can afford it or not." So that was really good. And that wasn't just us, that was the work of everybody else probably in this room, but it was great to be a part of that. Let me see what else. We're doing all kinds of things. Like coming up, we've got our fingers in pies. Like we had a lunch where we invited the sheriff, superintendent of schools, a lot of leaders. Again, we're the glue, bringing those people together. Asked, what do you need? We found a lot of needs in this community, and we're attacking them little by little, or lot by lot, depends on how you look at it. Some of these are really large projects. We found that there's a lot of kids here who go home hungry on the weekends, and we have asked a lot of other people at this table, help us, let's come to a plan, let's get it done. We don't care who takes the credit for it, but let's get it done, let's get it done right. Working with people to help a lot of kids stand out in the rain waiting for the bus. We're going to start attacking that. It's a problem that, you know, it just is. And standing outside today, it's a horrible problem. I remember as a kid running to the bus, trying to time it within seconds of the bus leaving. And I had to run a lot further if I was wrong. So we're attacking that. Gosh, we have these meetings where we go through all these different programs. I know I'm missing about 6 different programs that we're doing, but because I get nervous when I'm in front of a group. But we're still going with literacy. We just handed out dictionaries to every child in 5th grade or 4th grade. We used to do 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade. But because of the new shakeup in the junior high and all that, people weren't very organized in the school system this year. But we do thesauruses, dictionaries, and almanacs sometimes. And this year we just did dictionaries. Inside that dictionary, and going back to Rotary and the professional life, when you join Rotary, you stand in front of a crowd and you vow to live your life in a manner of ethics ruled by what we call the 4-way test. And so before you speak, act, or write anything in your professional life, you must make sure it's the truth, make sure it's fair, make sure it's beneficial to everyone concerned, and it has to build goodwill and better friendships, which is a really cool way of living your life. And that's one of the foundations of Rotary. And if you see a symbol on a business, high chance are that they are aware of that constantly, because there is a checks and balances of high ethics in business. The other part of it is building better friendships. So we believe highly in fellowship. So we try to get together whenever we can. Sometimes it's cleaning beaches. Sometimes it's sipping wine at San Vineyards, or parking cars at the Concours d'Elegance, or whatever it comes up. Perhaps it's bowling. If somebody wants to go bowling, we get enough people to go bowling, great. We joke about being such a small island that if you have more than 3 Rotarians in one room, it's a fellowship. And I saw 2 or 3 at the hospital, and we called out fellowship, so that was kind of fun. But anyway, good group of people. Like I said, it's great to see this group here, because these are the people that we come to when we need help. We're all professionals here on this island, and if you have something to lend us, great, come talk to us. And we're also here to help if you've got an issue that you think that our organization will really help with. Since we've all got our specialties all over the place. So if something needs a lawyer or a pilot or a reporter or something like that, we're here as a group to do good things. So thank you very much.
Hi. So my name's Carrie Ann Pinko, and I'm the Executive Director of the San Juan Island Community Foundation. I've been with the foundation since 2014 and the director since the beginning of 2016, so I'm fairly new in the director role. I'm currently the only staff member as well, so it's a very busy job. But it's great. A little bit about myself. I've been on the island 10 years. I have a community health education degree, and I moved out here right out of college. And I always joke because I started my first job at Inter-Island Medical Center 10 days after college graduation, and I always say I should have taken a few weeks off because 10 years later I'm still working non-stop. But so I moved out here to work at the old medical center. I ran a project that was grant funded called telepsychiatry, and that went on for about 3 years. Then I worked under Beth Williams Giger in administration. Then I moved over to the hospital when the hospital opened, and worked in administration as well under Jim Barnhart. I was on maternity leave in 2014, and maybe some of you know Charlie Anderson. He was our board chair of the foundation who has stepped down. He's still on the board, but we have a new board chair, which is a big change for the foundation. He called me when I was on maternity leave and said, "Hey, have you ever thought about working for the foundation?" And so I took a chance and took the operations manager position at the foundation. Susan Matthews retired in 2015. She was our director, and I moved into her position. So that's kind of how I came to the foundation. Oh, and I also have 2 little kids. I have a 2-year-old and a 3.5-year-old, so I'm very busy, but busy is good. So a little bit about the foundation. It was started in 1994 by a group of board members who wanted to make an impact in the community. They didn't have an office at that time, and they would meet in people's garages, and they'd carry their boxes of files around, and then they slowly started growing. They began giving grants in 1996, so this year is our 20-year anniversary, I guess, of grant making, which is pretty exciting. It was quite a small foundation for a while, giving grants out once a year at an event called Breakfast of Champions that maybe some of you have had been to. We haven't done that for quite some time, although we talked about bringing it back just in a different way, getting the nonprofits together more often and talk about what we're all doing. So that's something I'd like to do. I think we're most well known for the fundraising for Peace Island Medical Center. That took many years, way before the hospital opened in 2012. The current board members saw the need for a bigger facility for healthcare. So for 10 years or so, the foundation planned and fundraised for the hospital and ended up raising over $10 million for the building, for the hospital. But we do a lot more than that, I think, but since the hospital's been completed, and we do currently fundraise for them, but we don't just do big projects like that, so that's something I'll talk about as well. In 2009, with the economic downturn, we started what's called a Critical Needs Task Force. And there were several meetings over a couple months where we looked at the critical needs of the island. And I wasn't there at the time, but community organizations were invited and community members to tell us what the critical needs were. Then in 2015, we did kind of a round 2, but we called it a Community Needs Task Force. So it wasn't just critical needs. But what we found is some of the same needs came up, like affordable housing. No surprise there. Some other needs that came to the top in 2015 was the need for a community resource guide. Someone said before we got started how many nonprofits there are on the island, and it's true. There's about 40 or 50 really active nonprofits, and that's a lot for our community. So there was a need, and every work group we had 8 work groups that kept coming up that we need some sort of resource guide. Well, how do you know what's going on? If you want to volunteer in healthcare, where do you go? And just recently, there's been a resource guide that's been started online, but it's for health and social services. So it is missing some information. Other needs that came to the surface were year-round public transportation, support for Skagit Valley College, early childhood education, and a community plan for emergency preparedness. So the report really continues to guide the work that we do at the foundation. So what we're doing now, some of the things we do now, we have a grant cycle. We do 3 grant cycles a year. We used to do 4. Just this year, we started 3. It gives us a chance to meet more with the nonprofits in between grant cycles and find out what they're doing. I think that's one of the most enjoyable parts of the job is what are called one-on-one pre-application meetings. So before anybody submits a grant application, we invite them in to talk about the project, to answer questions. Sometimes we find out what they want we can't fund. We don't fund vehicles. We don't generally fund salary. So we kind of find out, should they apply for a grant or not? Maybe they need help writing a business plan or a budget, so we'll do that kind of work with organizations as well. So sometimes we meet with them for months at a time or just once. Let's see. I think another big thing what we do is we connect nonprofits together. So what we have found also in our community needs task force work is there's a lot of like organizations that do similar things, and we try to connect those people so they can work together. We hold funds at the foundation. We have an operating fund for keeping the doors open, the lights on. We also have our Healthy Community Granting Fund. And we have a general endowment as well, but it's pretty small. The most popular fund we have is called the Donor Advised Fund. It's very flexible. We have about 30 of those. You can grant from your fund anytime throughout the year. So that's probably, like I said, our most popular fund. We also have designated funds that benefit one or more organizations over time. We also have agency or nonprofit funds. The library, their fundraising group has a fund at our foundation. And we have several scholarship funds. We also have pass-through funds, so organization or an individual can give through us into our pass-through fund, and then we will grant it out to any organization. We have, and some of the funds are endowed and some are not. So if a fund is endowed, then it's supposed to continue on forever, and we just spend some of the interest. Each year, we spend a percentage of the fund amount. We match donors with projects. So during our grant cycles, we try to find donors that have interest in that area. So if we have a grant from the Family Resource Center, we know what donors may be interested in that type of project. So for each grant cycle, we reach out to specific donors and say, here's our projects for the cycle. Would you like to help fund some of them? So our donors really have a wide range of interests, everything you can imagine. So it's we try to really get to know our donors and what they want to give to. And it's really important to keep in contact with our donors. Another thing we're really well known for, I believe, is our scholarship program. Each spring we have an INSCEAP scholarship. It goes to graduating high school seniors on the island, and it's renewable for 4 years. And this year, we gave out $164,000 to newly graduating seniors and then the ones that are still in college. Now that was a large endowed fund gifted by Jerry INSCEAP. We didn't know it was coming, and it was about $4 million. So it's a huge honor for us to be able to give that money out to students. It's based on financial need and merit. We also have a general scholarship fund, so you can apply for that any time of the year. It goes to 2-year colleges, VOTEC programs, 4-year colleges. It could be for a working parent on the island that wants to get their nursing degree. One of the requirements is that they need to live here on San Juan Island. We We have a John Volk Scholarship for aviation-related, for students going into aviation-related fields. And then we have a new scholarship fund called the March of Zachariasen Scholarship Fund that's for students going into the healthcare field. You might have seen us at the fair. Every year we have an annual matching grant program at the fair. We feature 8 or 9 nonprofit organizations and we fundraise. And we match 50 cents on every dollar that's raised at the fair. And this year, the public raised $31,000 total. So that's pretty neat. Sometimes we help with large projects. The most recent, besides the hospital, is the animal shelter. They've reached about 80% of their goal, so they're well on their way. We're not helping with them as much. And we also are winding down on the ball fields. The ball fields are almost complete except for the baseball field. Future focus, I would like to see our foundation focus on affordable housing, find some part of affordable housing that we can help with. Obviously we can't solve that whole issue. Also senior needs with the Life Care Center closing. I'm on a task force to look at a new model for services like the Life Care Center provided. Other future focus, economic development in general, early childhood education, and we are going to start fundraising for our own endowment so that we can not worry as much about our operating budget and start doing even more for the community. We have a new board chair. His name's Eric Parsons. He's been on the island full-time for almost 3 years. And, sorry, threw me off. I'm almost done. Yep, I'm almost done. He brings a new type of leadership. He has expertise from the Oregon Community Foundation, which is a statewide, huge foundation. But it's Charlie Anderson has stepped down, like I mentioned before. So we'll still do a lot of the same type of work we always have been, but just have a new focus, I guess, new leadership. I think that's it. Thank
you. Okay, I'm Tammy Cotton, and I am the president of our local United Way, and what we're finding is a lot of people don't realize we actually have a local United Way. We fundraise about $125,000 to $150,000 per year, and we have focused goal areas, and the 3 categories we focus in are education, income, stability, and health. We have goals that we've set for the year 2020, so we've got some steep goals, but we think we can get there. So under the education category, we'd like to see 100% of San Juan County children are ready for kindergarten. So there's a huge initiative among a lot of the service groups to focus on kids and getting them into preschool, because the statistics showed recently that only about 50% of the kids are ready for kindergarten, which Dr. Diaz showed us some videos that says if kids aren't ready for preschool, by the time they're in the 3rd grade, they're like 5 years behind their peers, and they never catch up, or they struggle to catch up their entire education. So the Family Umbrella Group and the preschool scholarships historically has been a huge United Way focus, because preparing kids for kindergarten is so important, because if kids don't get a foundation in their education, they're gonna fight their whole life to keep up with the Joneses. Second goal under education is 100% of San Juan County youth have a career path by 2020. So one of the other things that we noticed is, kids come out of Friday Harbor High School and Spring Street with a really good solid foundation, and about 7 out of 10 of them go to college, because this community is hugely supportive with the scholarships. I know with the foundation and Kiwanis, all the service groups give scholarships, but the kids go with not a specific end in mind. So they have very general not career paths. diploma pass, but they don't know what they want to do with those diplomas. So the kids that start off going to college, not all of them graduate because they don't find their passion. So we thought that that was something we want to focus on. The other thing that we've discovered in the process of looking at education with a fine-tooth comb is kids coming out of school with life skills, like, for example, my kids don't know what interest rate is, and I'll just go get a credit card and I'll put it on credit. So they don't recognize that something that cost them $1,000 is going to cost them, by the time they make payments and pay it off by minimum payment, it's just cost them $4,000. So life skills, they also think they put a card in a money machine and it's got a limitless supply. And whoa, why did I get a $37 fee? Because I don't know what that's about. I didn't elect overdraft protection. Kids today don't know these life skills. They don't know how to balance a checkbook. They don't know about a mortgage. Yeah, I take out a $300,000 mortgage, but over the course of 30 years, it just costs you $600,000. So I think in middle school or high school, having some sort of class, which does not exist today, about budgets and money and interest rates and credit cards and how to manage life skills like that is really important. The other thing is the area's income stability. One of our goals is 75% of San Juan County individuals obtain new financial skills by 2020, and that goes back to the education component and teaching our youth the basic skills, which I don't know how. I go back to, we had a home ec class actually when I was in middle school that taught us going to the grocery store and budgeting money and how to balance a checkbook, but they don't have that in today's classes. Everything's so focused on science and math that the basics get skipped. 75% of San Juan County unemployed or underemployed have access to vocational training by 2020. And that's an area where I've really seen a lot of progress. Super excited about that. The vocational job training, we really have a shortage of blue collar workers. So if you go to any of the contractors on this island, they cannot find workers. So you all have experienced what it takes to get a contractor on this island to show up at your house. It's because they can't get workers. Everybody goes off to do a 4-year degree thinking they're going to walk out of school and make $100 grand, but we don't have electricians and we don't have plumbers and we don't have contractors, so we need more of the blue collar. So there is a great program that's recently started within the last year that's helping with that. The next under income stability is 80% of seniors feel comfortable with their level of independence by 2020. So one of the things that we're supporting through the Family Resource Center is Neighbors Helping Neighbors, or Island Neighbors, which is a volunteer program to reach out and support people that are housebound or they can't get to the grocery store or whatever is causing their lack of independence. So we're strong supporters of that. In the health category, our goals are 90% of San Juan County residents report a usual place for healthcare by 2020. So being in insurance, I see a lot of people come in and say, oh, the cost of insurance is exorbitant, and it is, and it doesn't cover anything, and so I just don't even go. I can't afford it, I don't bother with it, I've got a $7,000 deductible. So they don't even know that there are programs on the island for free vaccinations, or there's a program at the hospital that kids can get physicals, and I think maybe San Juan Healthcare does it also. The programs aren't advertised, so kind of getting that word out and getting those programs supported is an important thing. The other thing is 100% of San Juan County children are accessed through ACEs by 2020. And what that is adverse conditions that kids go through, like divorce, death in the family, drug abuse, physical abuse, and getting them support through the school's PIP programs, which is a primary intervention program in San Juan, or United Way. San Juan County is a huge supporter of that. So in each of the school districts, there are psychologists that help do play therapy and other things with the kids that have these ACEs experience and give them coping skills and outlets for the issues that having ACEs brings about. And I would say probably realistically 25% of our budget goes to that very thing, because there are so many ACEs And the other thing, in San Juan County, I don't know how ACEs are reported, but statewide statistics show that 55 to 60% of kids have ACEs, and San Juan County reports less than 10. So somehow we're not capturing the ACEs. So our primary intervention programs don't get the attention and the funding necessarily that they need. So I know that San Juan County this last year was struggling to meet the need. So actually, Carrie, I kind of referred them to you as well. You can partner up on that. Another goal we have under health is 100% of children 0 to 5 have available adequate nutrition and health care year-round by 2020. So one of the things that Rotary mentioned and that we're kind of partnering together is we've started working, and we piloted at Griffin Bay this year, a Food for Kids program, where a lot of those kids don't have food on the weekend. So it was a little bit challenging due to manpower, but what we did is we set aside some money, and on Friday we would go grocery shopping and fill brown paper bags of healthy food for the kids that don't have food over the weekend to just grab a bag and take home for the weekend. We're still working through the logistics of that program. We also gave some of the kids a card to go to King's, $40 card on Friday, so they can go shopping at King's. What we're trying to figure out is if we can put some parameters on those cards, like WIC, like they can't go buy chips and salsa or soda pop or something like that. But there's definitely a need. We've got about 49% of kids on average at each school are on the free and reduced school lunch program. So like when we have a snow day, oftentimes those kids might struggle to get meals, and over the weekend they might struggle to get meals. So we're really focused, and that's a passion of mine, on getting food for the kids over the weekend. So we'd like to reopen that conversation with the Rotary. So some of the programs that we give to when we do our grant allocations, which is just one time a year in January, we fundraise throughout the year. We do fundraising through workplace giving, and we do 2 newsletters a year, and then we allocate all our grants in January. So the preschools are a huge benefactor of monies, the primary intervention programs with kids. There is a senior taxi system that gets seniors to doctor's appointments and that sort of stuff. I'm leaving some off.
Resource centers.
The family resource centers are the big ones, yeah. One on each island. Actually, there's a small one on Orcas, but the family resource center on Friday Harbor and Lopez Family Resource Center, they're a huge partner, and we don't want to duplicate. So they have the boots on the ground. They know where the needs are. So we really try to funnel our monies really through the school and the family resource centers, basically. And starting this year, if the supported program doesn't fit within our goals, we're either figuring out a way to direct them to the Family Resource Center, or like Carrie, we meet with them and say, okay, maybe we can meld it this way. So that's it.
Hi, I'm Mary Campanella from the Soroptomists. So I have a new neighbor. And I was talking to her about what's on the island, what to do. She's from the Seattle area. And I was talking to her, of course, about the Soroptomists. And she asked me a question. She said, what is a Soroptomist? Well, a Soroptomist is one of 75,000 women in 122 countries who work for women and girls. We are empowered to empower women. Everything we do has to do with women and girls. And now I'm going to tell you the exceptions in a few minutes. Our mission is improving the lives of women and girls through actions leading to social and economic empowerment. So of course the first thing we do, and it's really interesting how we all overlap, we do scholarships. But education is the golden bullet, so you just can't turn your head away. We give away 2 scholarships for undergraduate degrees or vocational schools, and we do one graduate degree, and then we give $6,500 to the graduating seniors at San Juan High School. We have what we call, the next program is the Cancer Transportation Fund. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it, but we seem to touch almost everyone. We gave away almost $15,000 last year in ferry tickets and/or a way to, by flight, to get to your cancer treatment program. We give the ticket to the caregiver and to the person who has cancer who's going for treatment. And at $14,000 worth of ferry tickets is a lot of ferry tickets. And we started this with a grant for just women for breast cancer. And over the years, it has just blossomed. Our international group gave us a grant of $10,000 to start the program. And we fundraise for it, and we give almost religiously $15,000 worth of ferry tickets away every year. Our next program is the Women's Emergency Fund, which is great because it's so instant. We work with the Family Resource Center, and they keep us aware of women who need something very practical. Their computers at Rock Island, and they don't have the money to get it out, and they need it to run their business. Also, a woman who might need a hot water heater. So we pay the vendor, and we step in, pay the vendor, and she gets the computer or the hot water heater. It's just very simple. Which takes me to the next program, which is also simple. It's the WIC program, which stands for Women, Infants, and Children. And our Soroptomist sister Susie works at the health department, and Suki came to us and said, why don't we double what the government gives the women to spend at the farmer's market? So that's what we do. If you shop at the farmer's market, you'll see little signs saying, we take Soroptobucks. And Soroptobucks are Soroptomist money, doubling the money that the government's giving to the children and the mothers. Last year, we went into the senior women's program and did the same thing. So now we're giving to senior women what we do is we give out the tickets, and they can use them throughout the year. They don't have to use them the day that they collect them. So the next thing we do is women's seminars. We've done one every other year. One year we did a Fix-It, empowering women to understand electricity, or as my husband calls it, the Euclidean universe. Men often laugh at it. Painting, carpentry, and it was a really huge success because we women want to know how to do things, and we have just an outline of how to do things. And then we put our intuition into it, so we put some skill into it. This year it's going to be finances. We're going to invite accountants, lawyers. I'm sorry? Accountants, lawyers, bankers to come and explain to women about interest rates and how if you buy something, I think your children are hysterical. They put the card in, the money comes out. This works for me. We also support directly the Safe San Juans and the Family Resource Center. They do incredible work. I mean, I guess the biggest call to the police on this island is for domestic violence. So we're behind them 110%. And you've heard of, or maybe not, of our community projects. We have the Thanksgiving baskets that we take to homebound people. There are so many needy homebound people, or just needy people on this island. It's unbelievable because we don't have that kind of what you call it. People don't think that way of our island. They think we're all so fat and happy. And half of us are not, which is an amazing, amazing thing. We do Christmas families. Again, the Family Resource Center gives us a list of people, families, and what they'd like for Christmas. And then we buy the stuff, wrap it up, and return it back to the Family Resource Center. You've seen us at the Knowledge Bowl. God knows we're competitive. There's 60 of us, by the way, on this island, which is a good number. We support the father-daughter dance in that there are some children that can't afford to go to the father-daughter dance. So we pay for their tickets to go. When I took over the presidency, I wondered what we could do in addition to what we were already doing. So the board had the names of 30 people in our community, and we split up, each took 3, and we asked them, what does the community have? What do we require, and how can the Soroptomists do that? Because we have to ask that last question. And mentoring and education came up. So we're starting a new scholarship for vocation of either electrician or plumbers, something that a woman can do where she'll still remain on the island, which is tricky because we don't have a lot of women on this island who are single mothers that we can find that want to go to school, for instance, because they leave because there's no jobs. The other thing was mentoring, and we're going to start a program at the high school, which is called Dream It, Be It, where you decide what you want to do, and we try to show you the path, perhaps, that you might get there. We have an S club, but it's nothing like your club. I'm impressed by the numbers of people, the kids that you attract to your, what did you call it?
Oh, the Leos, you mean?
The Leos,
Leos,
yes.
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, the
Yeah.
Leos. Yes, I'm really impressed by that. That's because we work with the kids, but it's hard to get them. I mean, they have so many things to do, but we have an S club, which is a miniature Soroptimist club. And last year they sent money to Haiti. I mean, they had a bake sale. They're learning to be volunteers. So, my neighbor, by the way, came to a meeting. She sat down at the fundraising committee with me, and she's now working on our St. Patty's Day benefit because that is our biggest fundraiser. And I invite each and every one of you to attend the Yacht Club benefit on St. Patty's Day. Thank you.
Well, last webinar. Would everybody stand up, please?
This way in our next vote, all the crane that way.
That's
And
right.
if everybody would put their hands together, good, excellent. So are you a left thummy or a right thummy? So which thumb's on the top? All the left thummies raise their hand? Okay, and all the right thummies raise their hand. Oh, very good, it's about 50-50. I've done this with hundreds of people, it always comes out about 50-50.
Oh, does it?
Has nothing to do with left-handedness, that's only 8.5%.
Right.
So go ahead and try to do it the other way.
Wait a minute.
Feels really uncomfortable?
Yeah, very, very uncomfortable here.
After my talk, I'll tell you. Anyway, the Kiwanis Club International, the word Kiwanis wouldn't give you any clue unless you happen to be an American Indian. So if you're an American Indian, you'd know that it means some kind of trading among business people. And it started back in Michigan over 100 years ago. And so that was the idea, to get together and trade ideas, and of course that's, at that time it was an all-men's club. Now, of course, we are a service club that include both women and men. And the club here on the island started in 1986, so we're the second oldest service club. Actually, the Lions is the oldest, and we'll give them credit for that. Although we beat you about 3 years in a row in softball many years ago. We were younger. Anyway, And what got me interested, the Kiwanis is actually for children. So what we do is everything is focused basically on children. And my own daughter in Newport, Oregon, went on a Rotary exchange actually to Trelleborg, Sweden, and I was so inspired by that I decided that I was going to look for a service club to join. There wasn't a Rotary club on the island at the time, but a new Kiwanis club was starting in 1986, so luckily I was able to join that club, and actually I became a charter member, which is kind of, I'm not as old as Warren Jones and some of those folks. Anyway, and then later, years later, I recruited Tammy Cotton, actually. She was a wonderful president for us with the Kiwanis Club, I think maybe 2 years.
3.
3? Well, see, that's what happens when you're really good. You know, I was only president for 1 year, so anyway. So we're basically a worldwide, children's program. And one of the things that we've done internationally, actually, was that we decided that we should add salt actually to iodine to make sure that when people were salting their things over in Africa and various countries, that they wouldn't get these horrible diseases that people were getting. And so we probably saved millions of people some of the horrible problems that you can have by having a salt deficiency. And it's simple, it's just a matter of adding some iodine. So that's Kiwanis International. But locally, since 1986, we've been doing a lot of things. And you might recognize our caboose, the red caboose. Well, that was built the first year, so that would have been about 87. And so we sell hot dogs, and we often sell hot dogs, but we also give hot dogs away. And in fact, we give hot dogs away at Touch the Truck, at the Fans, which is the group for the
Island Rec.
Yeah, Island Rec, thank you. And then also we do the children's thing every year. And I know I've been the person in charge of that in the past a few times, and we give out over 800 hot dogs, every year to kids at the children's festival. So we do a lot of things like that. But our main thing is children, like I said, and we do something called the Pig War Barbecue. You've probably heard about it. And it's a huge event for us. We gross about $25,000. It's actually quite an event. And in fact, MSNBC actually picked Friday Harbor as something like the 4th or 5th best place in America to come for the 4th of July. And the reason for that was that we have a wonderful parade, of course. Everybody knows about our parade. And then we have the Pig War Barbecue, which is focused again on children, all kinds of children's games and whatnot. And great pulled pork sandwiches. And then we, then in the evening, of course, there's the fireworks. And so anyway, that's how MSNBC decided we were hot. So the number 1 city in the country was Philadelphia, which I thought was kind of interesting. Anyways, we have rummage sales and we raise money for all different kinds of things. But we give away about 15 to 17 scholarships every year. And over 10,000 in scholarships easily, different amounts. We also have a Christmas toy drive, the Toys for Tots, and we take care of over 100 kids every year and make sure they all have toys. And that's been going on almost since the very beginning. Another thing that you might recognize with the Kiwanis Club actually is that the year before I became president, we built a kiosk right next to the post office, and that's been there ever since. And we monitor that. In fact, we are constantly putting things up and down in that kiosk. And so we've been trying, before the world of telecommunication, it was really a very good way to communicate. And actually, people still use it pretty much. It's amazing. So that's another thing that you might recognize on the island. But basically, we're kid focused. We do all kinds of, we just had Halloween, for example, and many people don't realize, but we buy a whole bunch of candy and have people donate candy. And you think about, what are you doing giving candy to kids? No, what we do is we give the candy to the 100 homes that are clobbered, because they block them off so that the kids just go to Spruce and, off of Argyle and whatnot. And I know my mother used to live on Spruce Street, and it was $200 or $300 every year for candy. So now what we're doing is trying to help out those middle-class families that just get clobbered. I told you about scholarships. We do the help for fish, for teeth. Anyway, we're, basically we're the fun club. We do a bunch of potlucks. We have about 8 or 9 potlucks a year. There's about 30 members, and we just have a grand time. I actually met my bride, my wife, at the Kiwanis Club, so you talk about a benefit. I mean, just a little side benefit. And so we've been happily married, and that's pretty cool. Can you think of anything else, Tammy? What jumps out?
No, you did a good job.
Pretty good job anyway. So that's basically the Kiwanis Club International. They've got clubs all over the world, a lot like the Rotary Club. But the service clubs, basically work together and really do some amazing things on the islands. And, what's wonderful about our service clubs is that there's people from all kinds of political persuasions, and yet the people that are in the clubs are very altruistic. And so we all get along somehow. It's kind of mind-boggling. And I know we just had a big potluck out at our home, actually, and we had about 30 people there, and it was just fabulous. So that's the Kiwanis Club.
Thumbs.
Yeah,
Oh, you had to tell us something
Is it
about-
question time?
Yes, it's question time. It is.
It turns out that, whether you're a left thumbie or right thumbie, is just a neutral habit. It's not a good habit or a bad habit. It's just a neutral habit. We know in psychology if you want to change a bad habit, it takes about 200 times. So you'd have to work at this, to change that habit if you wanted to change that neutral habit. So anyway.
Okay, so now's the time to ask all your pressing questions. So who would like to have the first question?
I have one question.
Beverly.
We're talking about children's lunches on the weekend. Well, we found on Lopez, we need children's lunches in the summer because they're not going to school. And the churches are picking up some of this, but we need help from somebody. We've got Lions over there. It's up to you.
I can take a little bit of that. So when we had this task force of coming out and asking what the community needs, this number was brought up about 49 to 52% of children were on free and reduced lunch. And that was like a sledgehammer. I mean, it was, what? That's a huge problem. And so what Tammy and Rotary, or United Way and Rotary are doing, like, well, this is big. Before we leap in full force, we need a pilot program, we need to start slowly, make sure we have buy-in, work out the bugs before we incorporate 200 kids into a program and fail miserably. So that's where we're at right now, is we're starting to work this through, get some logistics together, making sure it works on a smaller scale, move up, and hopefully, because that has been brought up, what about summertime? That's huge, but that's a way bigger ball of wax to deal with. Currently what we're doing is we're finding that the kids don't eat on the weekends. It takes Monday, and then Tuesday they finally can get caught back up to pay attention in school. So they're a day behind every week in school. And then to get caught up on Tuesday to be where they need to be by Wednesday. So that's our focus right now. If we can get a program together through all people at the table, we would gladly love to push right on through, but we need to get that ball rolling first. Our eyes on that prize too.
Thank you. But you need to come over to Lopez. We don't have Rotarians on Lopez.
We are the Rotary Club of the San Juan Islands. We have members from Orcas. Unfortunately, the ferry gets there halfway through our meeting. So they're huffing and puffing as they bust through the back door, but you're always welcome to come and see what we're about.
Okay, another question? Laura Jo?
I have a question about the Rotary Exchange Student Program. I know there's a young woman from Friday Harbor that's somewhere in South America at the moment.
Oh, yeah, Emily Kane,
Yes.
yeah. So that's part of our, one of our pillars is youth development. And so we've received Greta Kellerhoff from Germany, and Emily Kane is the daughter of John Kane, who works with a prosecuting attorney, and he's a Rotarian. So we have exchanges. We bring students there, and we accept them. And it's a great program. Usually they're sophomore, juniors, in the hopes that they come back and then talk about what an amazing experience it is, get people who are younger, older to join up. And so that program is a year-long deal. We try to get 3 different families, so they have 3 different flavors of what Americans are like. And so they come in the summer and they leave in the summer. And so they get all 4 seasons, they get to school. It's great for our kids because we have pretty tight geographic boundaries. They don't know what other kids from other places are like. So we've experienced France, Germany. We're even talking about maybe we have a Haitian Rotarian, maybe bringing a group of kids from Haiti for a week and say hello and join the STEM program and do robotics for a week. We're all about getting those kids to move back and forth. This is a world, not just a Salmon Island thing. So we're trying to get our kids more interested in the global view of our planet. So,
Nisha?
I wanted to ask Community Foundation, you mentioned all of the funds. Do you still have the Women's Fund as
Yes,
well?
yes, we do. I didn't mention we have a women's fund. It's a minimum $100 a year to join, and what women love about it is that there's only one meeting a year, basically. So, and it's usually May or June. There's a luncheon, and it's a pooled donor advised fund. So there's also a grants committee to look at our the foundation's grants and decide if they want to put money into those projects each grant cycle. So,
David, you have...
Just out of curiosity for Rotary, do you have any chapters in Russia and China?
oh yeah. In fact, one of our members has started, and I want to, amazing man. I want to say he started 24 chapters from Siberia all the way down through Indochina.
Wow.
I think somewhere in there. He was asked to be part of that. And he's oh yeah, we're all over the place. We're 200 countries. I just went to the Rotary International convention in Georgia, and all 200 countries were represented. I think actually there were 3 that were missing. But it was amazing because just like was said before, when you're part of a service club, you have a mindset, and that mindset is global. It doesn't matter what color your skin, the language you speak, your economic background. I saw the most amazing thing was an Indian, a Pakistani, and Afghani group hugging. I mean, in most situations, they'd be fighting to the death, but they were hugging in the halls of the World Community Center in Georgia. So that's kind of what the mindset of service groups is just getting the world together to do good things.
Georgia the country or Georgia the state?
Atlanta.
Okay.
Hot Atlanta.
Yeah. Sarah?
This question's for Carrie. You said that you will often have an initial meeting with nonprofits who are coming to you to talk about granting. And I'm wondering, do you invite the nonprofits, or do they approach you and say they're interested in submitting an
I
application?
think it happens both ways, but most of the time they come to us and say, we want to apply for a grant, what do we need to do? And then we'll set up a meeting. But sometimes, I'm also in Rotary, sometimes I'll meet people in Rotary and say, you should come to the foundation for a grant. So I think more often now than we were before, we also invite people to come in if we hear about good projects that are going on or they need funding for something.
And do you have a list of criteria that you either publish on the website or that you would send to organizations or people who are interested?
We have like a frequently asked questions section on our website. Our website is honestly, it needs to be redone. We don't have the funding for that. So it's not the best website in the world, but there's a lot of information that you can find on our website about our grants process.
Okay.
This is a question, comment. I didn't hear the San Juan Co-op mentioned, and they have a terrific, they've been expanding, they have employment now. It used to all be volunteers. The last month that we had a volunteer cash box, it was $50,000 worth of produce that went through. I would think that you could liaison with them for vocational training, agricultural internships in the summer when there's a lot of food that then could be brought to people who need it. I just throw that out.
Yeah, there's a gentleman in Seattle who did a program through Rotary called First Harvest, I believe, and he was getting local farms, getting the produce or just people's yards.
And we
who had
have
apple
a
trees.
very active agricultural.
Getting groups together,
field,
like-
So that would be.
Yeah, and there's a whole movement of people who have apple trees in the yard or things, and let's go pick it, bring it off, bring it to the food bank or the co-op or sell it or however, just everybody has a piece of property that can grow something. And I have a farm where we have cows and I think some of our meat is sold to co-op, I'm not sure. It used to be, our wheat used to be sold to co-op, I know that. But there's that whole movement of reaping the land that you guys own, however be it, just a couple raspberry bushes or blueberries. But I think the co-op is a good hub for that.
Can I have a question?
Yes.
Who do I talk to about maybe partnering with for the Food for Kids
I
program?
believe our manager, Anna, also manages the farmer's market, so it sounds like you've already got an in there.
So,
Anna,
I don't think
I
she's
can
there
get-
anymore.
She's not there anymore. Anna's not there anymore.
So it's somebody else now. Does anybody know
Oh, I do.
who it is?
we can find out.
Yeah.
we'll figure it out.
You know what surprises me is, I'm new to the island, I've lived here for about 3.5 years. But what surprises me, there's a lot of overlap in our organizations.
Yeah.
And there are a number of needs in this island. Someone mentioned 49% of the kids are not being fed, and they're only eating during the week. And yet, we overlap in a lot of things. I wonder if there is a way of having an intra-agency or intra-volunteer organization, so we all get together once a month or once a quarter, coordinate, find out do a needs assessment in the island, and see how we can work together to solve those issues. Rather than, well, I'll give scholarships here, I'll treat eye care there. Let's see if we can all focus on a few programs that will really help the population in this island. Just, I like to draw, I'm being accused always of thinking outside the box, but that's something that to me will be very, very beneficial for all the inhabitants of the island.
Carrie, were you talking about a resource guide or something like that?
Yeah,
That,
yeah. There is an online resource guide that's been started, but it's focused on health and social services.
okay.
In our needs assessment in 2015, we did hear that they look to the foundation to bring people together, organizations together, the nonprofits together, so we can share like ideas. So there's something that the foundation could do is convene a group like that, once a quarter or whatever. So that's something we could definitely do.
I mean,
For the service groups.
We talked about
Anyway.
here about the need for having electricians, plumbers, et cetera, et cetera. And I know that the biggest reason why they're not in this island is housing. And, you know, what are we doing to address all those needs?
Nisha?
The United Way, I heard some, I know your latest project is about shelter in the winter, could you say, and with the Family Resource Center, could you say a few words about that?
Yep. So we hit a roadblock. We thought that we had a location nailed down. The hardest part is finding a place to house people overnight. And we thought that we were going to work with the Grange, but the Grange's board decided against that for reasons that are totally understandable. And that is if the homeless population, for the most part, not exclusively, but what we've found for the most part is it's folks with chemical dependency issues and/or mental health issues. So from my understanding of the Grange meetings was the board decided that what if it's 33 degrees outside and it's only opens at 32, we don't want people showing up on our doorstep and staying for the night. And what do we do also if we have an event booked in the Grange that's a paid event, but the weather goes below 32, so then there's a conflict of interest. That's how they raise their money. So right now, while we're fundraising for it, we do have a part-time person, Winnie Brumsicle, that we've hired for 20 hours to try to find a location, because we've figured out through statistics on San Juan Island, we have somewhere between 6 and 8 people that would utilize a cold weather shelter in the event of freezing weather. So there is a need, and I think that the need is actually bigger than that. There's a lot of people that sleep in tents out in the woods that, might, if it started working or it was reasonable or not stigmatized, they would draw more. Kind of like the Food for Kids program. It started with 1, and then when the 1 figured out it wasn't so bad, there were 2, and then there were 3, and then there were 4, and so we need to find a location. So the hard part is, where do we put this group of folks? And I know right now they're showing up under the awning at the Presbyterian Church sometimes. But in all the communities, they're not finding it's an issue that are people showing up, knocking on the door, waiting for it to open. It's just not really been an issue. But it's something that we're trying to get past in this community with finding a location. That's the stumbling block we're running up against.
And that's a location for men. The Family Resource Center is going to house families, women with children, to the capacity that they can handle.
Well, and the other thing is, we are going to have a paid position that coordinates the shelter and volunteers, so it will be a staffed situation. So it's not going to be, we need a building to open the door and let people go in and do what they're going to do. It will be managed. But we do have multiple nights in the winter where it's below freezing and people are sleeping outside.
Tom?
Is the Life Care Center going to be available for any of this, or is that pretty well shut?
That's on the list to have conversations with.
Okay.
Good question. Okay, all
Well, we
right.
talked
Well,
about that too.
thank you very, very much for coming. I think we have all learned a tremendous amount, and it's been good sharing, going both directions here with you. So we appreciate this very much. Did you send it around yet? Okay. Did anybody, this petition to get the De-Escalate Washington on the ballot in 2018 has been going around the room. If anybody wanted to sign it.
It hasn't been going out, but we can send it for signatures.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you shed some light on that? I don't know what.
Yeah,
Escalate Washington is.
this is actually the idea of getting it on the ballot, and it has been endorsed by League of Women Voters. It explains it in a summary statement there on the front, and then in more detail than you would ever want on the back. So I suggest you read the
It's for
summary.
basically training law enforcement officers in how to handle and de-escalate conflict in the public, and also give them ways of mental health training, various types of training, so that they better know how to handle issues when they're out dealing with the public. Rather than shoot first.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, thank you, and anyone who wants to give me holiday luncheon checks or
Library has coffee. I gave them
dues
a-
checks. Dues checks can go to.
I mean, that's what I get all
Usually
the
they're-
time.
and I'm not sure.
Likewise.
Yes, yeah.
I am definitely.
Yes, that's it.